Hey everybody, this is Rapoport doing my first Roadfly video in over 4 years, and kind of an interesting way to come back. We're going to do a little bit of a guerrilla video today, not a ton of editing, sort of quick and dirty. So this is a pretty interesting car to come back with. This is the new for 2019 BMW i8 Cabrio. The i8's been out for a couple of years. I think we all know a certain amount about it. So really what we're going to do is just drive it around and play with it a little bit and just see how it works in the real world. I'm not going to bore you with stats. So I'm going to open the cool doors here and hop in and let's see what we got. So this is actually a really easy car to live with. Despite the crazy doors and the sort of supercar-esque layout, it's not hard to get into. It's not really hard to get out of. You can use the sill to kind of bolster yourself, so it really is not hard to get in and out of, not hard to live with at all. So the ingress and egress is kind of a metaphor for the whole car. It's really very easy to live with, and I guess your main complaint about it would be that it's not sporty enough. I think, what does it have, 400 horsepower? Something like that. You can get a lot more power for the same money somewhere else, but this just works. There's nothing to fiddle with. You just get in and go. It's a really cool car, and I think the person buying it probably is not quibbling over price anyhow. All right. So again, easy to get in and out, really comfortable inside, and to be honest, I think the interior is nicer than the last Audi R8 we had. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it is.
It's definitely nicer. I think they spent some real money on making it nice, elegant, simple, clean in here. You know, everything's nice to the hand, nice to the eye. The only exception is this little sort of foam thing around the roundel. It's probably part of the eye line, but it's a little out of place. But other than that, it's really nice inside. Seats are great. Everything feels super nice. There's not a lot of storage. I have to talk about that. There are these little pockets here. It's enough to just get your Easy Pass and garage door opener and maybe a device in there. There's also a cup holder back here, a cup holder here, a little thing here, a glove box, but not much else. There's nothing in the doors. Sort of handiness and usefulness, I think, is the general theme of this car, which is sort of weird considering it's mid-engine, low-slung, looks like a supercar. I would argue it's not really a supercar just because of the performance. I've dropped my window sticker, but let's take a look. So it does have all-wheel drive. It's about 369 horsepower total output. It's got multiple modes. It has a heads-up display, which I really like. And everything is simple. There's just not much to fiddle with. You get in, you go. Sport mode, you just actuate by tapping over on the shift knob, and that triggers differences in the heads-up display. So really cool. Everything works. It took me 5 minutes to feel 100% comfortable.
And that's a big deal because
It's a huge deal.
You get in a lot of these cars, especially if you're just getting in an M3 or an M5.
Mm-hmm.
It takes you 10 minutes to figure out everything just before you go for your first drive.
Yeah, the M3 that we did in 2013, like, we realized at the end of the shoot that we hadn't actually gotten it into crazy M mode the whole time. Like, it had just been in normal mode the whole time. And then on the way back from the shoot, we put it in crazy mode, and we were like, "Oh my god, but what were we missing?"
We thought we were in the right mode, but you could accidentally turn it off. You could accidentally get out of that mode.
Yeah, you have to hit it 3 times to to actuate it. So this is easy. Anybody can get in. Anybody can enjoy it. It's responsive. It's stable on the road. I mean, it's not super fast. Again, I mean, I drove a 300 horsepower Golf to the shoot. There probably wouldn't be much in that race if you were to line these two cars up, but it'll do anything you want. Oh, there's my exit. Fine.
Yeah, for sure.
Mean,
well, let's go for a little ride and talk a little bit about driving impressions.
Absolutely. But it is just a super nice driving car. It is so stable. It does growl a little bit when you put it in sport mode. I know it's a relatively small engine, but the acoustics are nice. And then you just kind of slap it back into normal mode, and then you don't hear anything. I mean, now it's silent. Now
it really is silent when you put it in drive mode.
Yeah, and now all you hear is like the sort of electric whining, so you feel like you're driving a car from iRobot or something. but then you just pop it over here. You hear the engine again, and you feel like, hey, I'm driving a real sports car. It doesn't sound unlike a Cayman, for example. Charles?
Actually, that's a great. That is what it sounds like. It sounds very much like a Boxster Cayman, the smaller motor.
How many cylinders does it have?
Turbocharged
Is this a 3 or a 4?
It's a 3-cylinder.
Yeah, so I don't know if this is all... I mean, the top's down, so it doesn't feel like this is all artificial sound. I mean, it feels like they've used the acoustics of that kind of weird engine layout to their advantage to make it sort of growl a little bit. Almost like, you know, they've got... Again, now it's totally quiet. Can't hear anything. Pretty peaceful.
It actually is peaceful, and one of the biggest luxuries you realize is quietness, silence is a luxury that you don't think about.
Yeah, that's definitely, I think, been emerging a little. Whoa, shit. Visibility, that little hiccup notwithstanding, is awesome. You know, I haven't driven the new NSX. They say the same thing about that. The R8 also kind of similar. This is just as usable as those cars. I think those cars really distinguish themselves, Charles, maybe by their everyday usability. You can drive an R8 or an NSX to work. You could easily do the same with this, easily. So what else do we have?
The other things I want to talk about was, I guess, just overall handling and the brakes and whatnot. I mean, that's all 100% up to par with what you would expect. That's all supercar-ish. The tires aren't as wide on this car as they are on some of the others because it doesn't have the horsepower.
Oh, that's a sweet house.
But I think from a handling standpoint and a braking standpoint, as far as what the person who buys this is going to do with this car is on par.
Yeah, I mean, it's... Oh, there's a dog in the road.
Look at that cute little guy.
It is it's a high fashion car.
Actually, that's a good point. That's what it is.
It looks weirder than an R8 or an NSX. It looks weirder than almost anything that's out there right now, and I mean that in a totally good way, by the way. It has a little bit of that sort of traditional BMW brutalism, I guess you could call it.
I will tell you that I have had so many people come up and talk to me about this car. Yep. People just randomly walking by. I got swamped at the grocery store where a bunch of people wanted to talk to me and ask me questions about it because either they hadn't seen a Roadster or they hadn't even seen an i8 before.
Oh, it gets a lot of attention for sure. We're in reverse, right? I still want to do this though. Here's the cool part. You actually can do this. It works. Just doing it the old school way. We've been talking about how futuristic the car feels, but if you just want to do something the old-fashioned way, for the most part you can. It's very just sort of handy. I think it also, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like it drives a lot smaller than it is.
Yeah, that's fair, because it is wider. It is wide.
Yep, it's wide. It's not short, but doesn't feel at all like... I mean, this is a narrow road. I know what I want to point out. The doors. I mentioned to Ross that I did get stuck yesterday. There was one last spot at a place I was going. I was in Georgetown. There was no room around me. I squeezed into a spot and I could not open the door enough to get out. And had it been conventionally doored with conventional hinges, I would have been able to get out of the car at that point. So I had to leave and park, a couple blocks away. It does sound nice when you get on it.
Yeah, it does. It sounds good.
Yeah, DCTs are 7 speeds. This isn't.
Anyway, I guess that's probably about it for today, Ross. What do you think? Is there anything else you want to talk about? Trunk space.
The trunk space is all right. Cubby space is good.
Trunk space is what you'd expect.
I can't fit in it.
It holds a very small suitcase, and there's no trunk space under the bonnet. So the hood doesn't have any trunk space at all, which is atypical.
So those are our two main gripes with the car. Is this our turn?
Yeah.
Yeah, the brakes are great, and honestly, I'm sure they have some sort of hybrid regenerative or regenerative
they do.
thing, but it doesn't feel like it.
It's
feels
not
like,
annoying the way it is in, say, a Prius or something.
Not at all. It feels like an old school car. I mean, when you're at a light, you drag the brakes. I mean, you can feel the friction. It feels like a real car. It's as we get into the future, for lack of a better phrase, like every manufacturer is going to have to decide how they want to balance feeling like the cars that you remember versus the cars of tomorrow. And whether this mix works for you or not, obviously is up to the individual, but it does sort of work for me. I mean, in a vacuum, Charlie, we were talking about this. Once you actually look at the sticker, it's $166,000. So if you're really shopping on performance, obviously there's more out there for that price. But if you want usability, if you want style,
if you want very unique style, if you want, you know, I don't know what we can say really about dependability. They're all about, it's going to probably be about the same. Maybe the NSX might have the best reliability, but
10 years down the road,
yeah, we don't know.
15 years down the road. But I mean, right now when you're warranted, you're supported, I don't know if it matters.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were going to talk about the one gripe that we had. So,
which was what? I forgot already.
I think the one that you mentioned was the fact that the hood or bonnet requires two people to open. So forget going to Cars and Coffee and popping it open for anybody, unless they're willing to help you and they know what they're doing. The other thing is, this is a minor gripe, but it could end up being a huge pain in the ass. So right here, you've got your window switches, okay, fairly standard. And then there's a gas cap popper right here. But then the trunk pop is right here. And the switch for the rear windscreen is all the way up here, but that's not where the convertible top opening is. So they've got this little thing for the rear windscreen all alone by itself, not with the windows and not with the convertible top mechanism, which is in this cubby. So in my mind, that creates a situation where I almost opened the trunk.
Well, the weird thing is that you almost always pop the trunk after the door's already open.
Yeah.
Because somebody wants to put something in, and then you're reaching under.
Yeah, especially with my short arms.
It's just an odd. It's odd.
It's the one part of it that doesn't work. It's the one part of it that sort of feels sort of typically quirky supercar, I guess.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, I think that's it.
All right.
Thanks, Charles.
All right.
That was
Thanks,
fun.
Ross.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
That's pretty fast, don't you think?
It's very fast.
You like it?
I love it.